It's important to realize that the rhythm guitar concept doesn't always work, simply because many jazz styles do not have an appropriate rhythm guitar part. This is particularly true of modern jazz swing, bebop-influenced styles. When the bebop pioneers took the basic swing grooves and made them more elastic, one of the ways they did this was to eliminate the rhythm guitar playing quarter notes. What does the guitarist do in this style? Well, one of our clue comes from the great jazz recordings of the 40s and 50s, most of which did not have any guitar on them at all. So one of the options we need to remind ourselves of is simply laying out. If the piano player is covering all the comping and there's nothing for you to add, sit on your hands. And all the great guitarists do this, even if the chords are written in your part. Find out places where you can lay out and stay out of the piano player's way. Eventually, though, you want to comp, and the guitar could be a great comping instrument. One of the things you need to be aware of in terms of learning to comp is the rhythm concept behind comping, which is different than rhythm guitar. Unlike rhythm guitar, where you're playing a consistent rhythm pattern or strum, comping involves certain sort of irregular rhythms, and it's very important to listen to different recordings and get a sense on how to do that. You can listen to great comping guitar players like Joe Pass and Jim Hall and Wes Montgomery. You can listen to great piano players. There are only about a zillion examples of good piano comping, but I'm particularly fond of the Miles Davis quintet recordings from the late 50s with piano players like Wynton Kelly and Red Garland and Bill Evans. There are often some really neat rhythmic figures written into the big band arrangements, so pay attention to what the trombones are doing behind solos or things like that, because those will give you some nice rhythmic ideas. Let me demonstrate on a blues. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice a couple of things. Obviously, I'm breaking up the rhythms a little bit. I'm using combinations of long notes and short notes and a little bit of mixing up of high chord voicings and low chord voicings. In particular, there's lots for the right hand to be aware of. In the first example that I just did, I was using a pick, the traditional method, and that works very, very nicely. But it's nice to have some other options too. One of the things that guitarists in recent years have done is gone to using a fingerstyle in the right hand instead of their pick. This provides a somewhat less percussive and more pianistic type of sound. Watch. 1, 2, 3. That's a very, very nice sound. Now, in terms of chord voicings, any of the chords we've discussed will work. I happen to be particularly fond of the top 4 string chords, but the meat and potato chords work nicely for comping also. A third option, which is sort of our little Wes Montgomery tribute, is to use the thumb of the right hand. And that is to let your fingers rest lightly on the top of the guitar and play aggressively with the flesh of the thumb. You might want to turn up the tone control of your amplifier just a bit to compensate for the dark sound of the thumb. 1, 2, 3. Mastering these 3 options is really helpful in terms of getting a little bit of variety into your comping. Now, in terms of some practical advice for comping, I don't think it's a good idea for more than one instrument to be comping at the same time. So it might not be a bad idea for you to alternate with the piano player. Have the piano player comp for some solos and then you comp for others. If you do comp with the piano player, both of you need to play very, very sparsely and listen to the soloist. Learning how to be a good comper on the guitar is yet another way that you can really add into the overall textures of your jazz ensemble.